Hello and welcome. I'm Rambo Talabong and you're watching Rappler Talk. Today we'll be speaking with student leaders of the University of the Philippines after the Duterte government ended the accord of the government with the University of the Philippines that prevents troops, policemen from entering the university without notification of the administration. And this accord has protected students for decades now, but with just a two-page letter, the Duterte government ended that. With us today in the program are these student leaders. First, we have Aura May Agbay from UP Cebu Student Council. She's the chairman. We have Jaino Bongon of UP Los Baños Student Council. He's also the chairman. We have Miko Gamad from University Mindanao Student Council. He's also the chairman. And we have the student regent select, Rene Luisco, University of the Philippines, Diliman. Guys, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay. Guys, I wanted to first get your reaction. This is a pretty heartbreaking news from yesterday. Lumabas lang kahapon sa UP Cule, sa Student Regent Twitter account. Ano yung reaction nyo?
Bilang yung
Go ahead, Rene.
Bilang yung Office of the Student Regent yung nakapag-break ng news ay sobrang nagulat at nabalangtang po kami doon sa naging developments on the part of the DND. While the DND doesn't have a track record of really keeping its promises in the UP-DND Accord, and nakita din na po natin yung violation nila with it doon sa nangyari sa UP Cebu. As my colleagues will tell you, we were shocked at yung kanilang initiative na umalis dito and yung kanilang unilateral termination of it, which hanggang ngayon ay we see as, syempre, we highly condemn and we question din naman yung grounds by which they want to exit the agreement.
Okay. Kayo guys from UPLB, UP Cebu, UP Mindanao, I mean, the news story broke from Diliman, from Manila, but you guys, paano nyo natanggap yung informasyon? At saka anong reaction nyo?
Sige. Sige, I'll go first. Nung I received the letter from yung copy nung letter from a friend. Tapos I sent it immediately din sa mga colleagues ko sa council to have it validated kasi sobrang shocked ako na gano'n na lang, na maglalabas na lang ng letter yung DND, ay magsasend na lang ng letter yung DND sa UP, unilaterally terminating the accord. So, yun. That was for me, no, kahapon.
Okay, so for you, Jaino, talagang hindi ka makapaniwala agad-agad na nangyari ito kasi ang bilis, no? How about sa inyo, Aura at saka Bruce Miko Gamat? Sorry, di ko nabanggit yung first name mo kanina, Bruce. Your reaction here.
Sige po.
Kasi ako muna, sa UP Cebu naman po talaga. Syempre at first, nagulat tsaka natakot din kasi parang bumalik lahat yung nangyari sa pagdakip ng Cebu 8 tsaka yung pag-violate ng UP-DND Accord, yung paghahabol, no, yung mga videos na nakita natin na hinahabol yung mismong mga estudyante sa loob mismo ng UP Cebu campus. At syempre, historically, malaking sinyalis naman talaga ito, 'di ba, sa pag-i-establish ng isang diktadorya, no, na naglalayong patahimikin yung taong bayan, kasi diyan naman talaga yan nagsisimula, 'di ba, sa pagkuha ng mga basic rights and liberties natin. Pero syempre, katumbas naman ng takot na yan ay yung willingness, no, ng mga estudyante. Nakikita natin na even before sa termination na ito, ginagampanan naman talaga ng mga estudyante yung historical role nila na para labanan yung mga atake na ito. Tsaka aside sa takot, mas na-challenge pa yung mga estudyante at kami mismo sa konseho para mas i-expose, no, at mas ipaglaban ang pagbatok sa campus militarization at syempre ang pagprotekta din, no, sa academic freedom ng university. So yun po sa UPC.
Thank you, Ara. Bruce?
So I think I also share the same sentiments with my fellow colleagues. There is also this fear kasi may events noon sa UP Mindanao na nakaranas ng harassment ng students from state forces. This was seen when policemen with shields were lining up in front of our dormitory, which is the LSB Lopez dormitory, following the landing of a helicopter. So students were illegally detained inside the dormitory for hours. Even to eat, they were denied access to go out. And with the termination of this agreement, who knows how many more of these events, or even worse, could happen. And aside from fear, there's also this feeling of anger. Kasi the UPDND Accord is a product of collective action of UP students in their fight for academic freedom and spaces that ensure our right to freely express our opinions and thoughts. And this agreement has been standing for decades. And the DND's decision to terminate it now does not only discredit past efforts, but it's also baseless on mere accusations and blatant red tagging.
Thank you, Bruce. So the sentiments of our student leaders here, and also fear because of this termination of the agreement. Now, I wanted to go to you, Renee. Abruptness of the ganun lang siya. Meron bang heads up, Renee, from the university administration or kahit sa DND para sabihin na, okay, tumigil na tong UPDND Accord?
Currently, ang nakita lang po natin confirmation ay kinonfirm po ni Sec Lorenzana yung naging details dun sa letter. And we've contacted our UP administrators, specifically si Danicon and our chancellors, to also give their sentiments and to also speak out against the letter. What we've seen so far, chancellors are also working on their own statements and on condemning it or expressing their alarm about it. And nakita rin po natin na si President Danicon is also working on a statement. And we're all hoping na this morning ay ma-release niya. And mag-join na rin sila sa malaking chorus sa UP community, which is really alarmed and nagpapakita ng gantong klaseng takot, gantong klaseng galit against the statement.
Renee, ano yung proseso? Can I ask you how you got the document? Ano yun? Parang may nag-leak lang sa inyo? Or was it an official channel na, okay, FYI, the UPDND Accord has been terminated and you have to follow?
Hindi rin po siya nabigay sa official channel. Ito'y nakuha rin through a Viber group. Specifically, ay sinend din siya ng chancellor. And ito rin po ay pinaabot doon sa sa aming UP Systems group chat, kung saan it was the UPLB was also one of the people who broke the letter alongside Chancellor Nemenzo.
Okay. You student leaders have given pretty intelligent takes on this topic, but how is the sentiment of your universities and the student bodies that you lead? Ano yung kanilang sentimento ngayong oras na to? Nakikita nyo online? Anong mga usapan nyo sa group chat nyo? Anong napag-usapan nyo nung lumabas yung balita kagabi?
I can also give na muna yung feedback doon ng fellow sectoral regents ko. Both the faculty regent and the staff regent have similarly expressed their alarm and their condemnation regarding the statement, and we will be releasing a joint statement later today, which also talks about and particularizes on our part yung kinabahala natin sa statement. And as to the wider reaction of our communities and our constituents, we also saw that they did not um, tolerate yung naging letter and have backed us and have echoed the sentiments of our student leaders and the people who broke it in their condemnation. Dahil nag-trend yung Defend UP, Defend Academic Freedom, during the night noong ito'y na-break din.
Okay, Rene. Jaino, Bruce, and Ara, kamusta yung sentimento dyan sa inyong mga universities?
Ayun, just like, I'll go first na. Katulad nung sinabi ni Rene, sa UPLB, nag-cause din ng uproar yung balita ng termination because legit na yung threat ng police forces and the AFP ay totoo, lalo na dito dito din sa UP Los Baños. We've had cases na kung saan yung mga police ay pumapasok sa campus, magpapa-seminar, red tagging mismong organizations ng UP Los Baños. So, activists, I mean progressives and mga students alike, no, ay takot at some point takot, pero what I can say is yung pag-terminate ng accords mas nag-strengthen ng resolve ng mga estudyante at ng mga faculty na ituloy-tuloy yung pag-defend sa university. And kung noon, no, ay nakapagpa-walk out, no, ganun din ngayon yung sentimiento ng mga estudyante. Handang-handa yung mga estudyante na mag-walk out, wala kahit online classes man yan, ay yun yung sentiments ng mga UPLB students and faculty.
Thank you, Jaino. Ara and Bruce? Okay,
Sa
Ara,
Sa UP Cebu naman po, syempre, yung mga estudyante, dahil sa nagulat sila, no, at saka syempre nagalit din, ay kagabi kami ng parang DP blast o yung pag-change ng mga profile picture namin sa social media para ipakita, no, ang aming pag-condemn sa unilateral termination ng DND sa accord, at saka para din sa panawagan, no, na i-uphold yung pagiging safe zone ng mga schools. Kasi syempre, sa history naman din ng accord, kasi nung nandun pa siya, existing pa siya, ay binaviolate naman talaga at binabaliwala na siya ng mga state forces, especially doon sa nangyari nung last year sa June 5 protest. Kaya malaki ding warning, no, yung at alarm yung nafe-feel ng mga students, kasi how much more ngayon na tinatry ng i-terminate ng DND yung accord. Kaya nakikita namin yung galit ng mga estudyante, yung pag-express nila, no, ng willingness ng pag-stand ng mga appeals, at magre-release din kami ng isang unity statement among all our student organizations, kasama na yung academic union namin, tsaka yung sa student publication din namin. So nakikita talaga yung willingness ng mga estudyante na para labanan at i-counter tong attack from the state.
Thank you, Ara. Bruce, how about in Mindanao?
Yes. So just like they said, we were also alarmed. The students of UP Mindanao were also alarmed. And so pag-release ng Office of the Student Regent ng notice na may termination nga, the University Student Council of UP Mindanao released a statement of condemnation towards this what the DND did, and also ang mga councils ng UP Mindanao nag-release din ng mga statements of condemnation, and we're also planning to, just like sa UP Cebu, we're also planning to have a unity statement together with all the UP Mindanao orgs, institutions, fraternities and sororities to call for our administration to uphold the UPDND Accord and to uphold our academic freedom. And this is also a manifestation of how our students are also scared and angry with the said action.
Okay, thank you. So that has been the mood of the students, talagang takot at saka galit na naman. May gusto kong ibato sa inyong ideya na pinapasa ng DND. According to their letter, the reason why they're ending the accord is because of alleged recruitment of CPP and MPA inside the campuses of UP. And according to Secretary Lorenzana, Department of National Defense Secretary, this is enough reason to end the accord. And the recruitment apparently is a threat to national security, and it's time to foster, good upbringing for students. Those are his lines. Ang reaction nyo?
Pwede po ako mag-start siya. So, of course, there is no NPA recruitment in UP. Just to historicize our circumstances, there are also martyrs of martial law that UP celebrates, even if they're part of the armed struggle. And also, given how the government and subsequent administrators have continued to ignore the demands of various sectors, it's not surprising that some continue to be a part of these. And we are not in a place na i-judge yung kanilang choices kapag dinadrive up na sila sa wall, ginugutom sila at pinapatay sila. Pinapanawagan nga ng students and ng UP community yung demands nila. However, yun pa rin yung treatment sa atin. Ay tayo nire-red tag, ini-ignore yung legitimate calls natin, at paulit-ulit nila lambas and dinidismiss sila. So, this withdrawing of the UPDND Accord is just one of the many steps that they've taken, that they're taking para i-dismiss na naman yung concerns ng UP community and i-dismiss yung concerns ng masang Pilipino na ini-echo ng UP community. And ang nagiging result nito ay hindi tayo nagpo-progress, hindi rin bumubuti yung kalagayan ng mga sektor, at paulit-ulit lang na huhuli na sa stock sa isang cycle kung saan yung nakaka-benefit lang, yung talagang nakakuha lang ng nakikita nating kabutihan ay yung yung mismong government officials natin, yung Duterte administration natin. And ito yung talagang reason kung bakit natin kino-condemn, bakit gusto natin silang matanggal din sa posisyon.
Got that, Renee. How about Jaino, Aura, and Bruce? Your reaction? Kasi I'm interested also with the traditions of activism in your different universities, di ba? May intensification and may different approaches ang military when it comes to cracking down on your university. So I'm really interested on your reaction to this accusation that there is recruitment of NPA, CPP, NPA inside universities.
Ayan. For UPLB, matagal na actually hindi lang siya sa UPLB, pero matagal nang na-debunk yung argument ng government na there is active recruitment of NPA inside our campuses. You can ask any student, you can ask any faculty, sasabihin yan, walang recruitment sa loob ng mga pamantasan, no? Yung and itong pang-red tag na naman ng Department of National Defense sa mga estudyante at faculty, no? Hindi siya bago, pero ang alarming kasi ay they're trying to divert the issues na kinakampanya ng UP, no? Kasi we've known there is a rich tradition of activism and militancy sa university, so they're trying to discredit these calls, particularly yung mga recent calls on health-based response to the pandemic, junking of the anti-terrorism law, no? They're trying to discredit yung boses ng mga kabataan sa loob ng university by branding them as CPP, NPA, no? Para hindi sila pagkatiwala, hindi sila pakinggan at i-suppress lang yung kanilang right to express and right to academic freedom. Yeah.
Thank you, Jaino. Bruce, do you want to go next or Aura?
Sa
Ay, si
UP
Cebu.
Cebu,
Go.
okay. Sa UP Cebu naman din po, grabe talaga yung nakikita natin no sa pag-attacks, especially sa mga estudyante. At isa na dito, syempre, yung red tagging no na ngayon nga ay na institutionalized na siya, 'di ba, through NTFL, CAC, at saka syempre yung active participation din mismo ng state forces. At sa panahon ngayon, actually nung paglabas nga nung letter ng DND, medyo natawa kasi kami kasi para siyang very ironic, 'di ba? Kasi sa pagbuo ng accord, isang malaking reason naman talaga, 'di ba, ay yung Red Scare na pinalaganap ng Marcos regime noon na nagresulta no sa countless human rights violations at abuses, and even uh, the yung pag-disappear no ng mga student leaders noon galing sa UP. At saka medyo counterproductive siya na kung sabihin nila na para ma-counter yung recruitment no ng CPP NPA, kasi parang yung wala naman kasing sumasali 'di ba sa armed struggle na parang walang rason lang. Mostly kasi yung mga sumasali sa mga ganitong movement ay syempre yung mga hindi pinapakinggan, no, yung mga sinabi nga kanina no ni student regent na yung mga ginugutom, yung mga nade-drive no to the edge, yung mga hindi pinapakinggan. So parang counterproductive siya. Paano nila naisip no na masosolve nila yung problema uh, sa ganitong problema kung puputulin nila yung boses no mismo ng mga estudyante na mismong nagfo-forward ng mga demands, especially sa panahon ngayon no na very unstable with the pandemic, with the new strain sa virus, at saka yung socio-economic na situation no na dala nito, at saka syempre rin sa mga policies na nire-railroad ng administration, like sa charter change no, at madaming issue ngayon at hindi mo ma-expect yung tao na magkimkim na lang, 'di ba? So dapat talaga nilang ma-express yung mga criticisms nila. At kung yun yung goal ng DND no na i-stop yung recruitment ng CPP NPA, at hindi ito yung sagot no, kundi ang sagot ay ang pag-solve talaga ng socio-economic roots ng armed struggle. Yan po.
Thank you, Aura in Cebu. Let's hear from Bruce in Mindanao.
Yes, so UP has always been known as a bastion of activism, no? And we have to be familiarized with the historical impetus of the accord. And just like what my colleagues mentioned kanina about how this accord came to be, which was when during the first quarter storm, and how student activists fought against the human rights violation under dictator Marcos. Um, there's also in the letter sent ng DND, there's also this is mere tagging lang. This is mere red tagging lang kasi, and the burden of proof na ang mga activist students kay mga rebelde ayon sa kanila, they should present these concrete evidences, and with what we said, this has been debunked even before, and there's really no recruitment happening in our campuses. For all I know, in UP Mindanao, wala talaga. And dubious ang timing nito amidst all the attacks, and it belies the true intentions of the state, not for the AFP and PNP to be seen as protectors ng UP, just like what Lorenzana said sa letter, but pangkipil ng mga opposition sa kanilang paghari. And they terminated the UP-DND accord at the height of the, like what my colleagues also mentioned, at the height of the Chacha talks, the manual counting in elections, and the disqualification of progressive groups from office. So it is clear that there is this mind conditioning for the 2020 elections.
Got that, Bruce. Another idea that's being presented by the Department of National Defense is that students should be thankful students should be grateful that they are deploying soldiers and policemen inside university. I mean, there won't be a police station or a contingent that's constantly there, but the police and the military can come in and out. And according to the DND, that's better for students for their protection. Is that true for you guys and your constituents?
Ayun. Hindi actually. Very ironic siya na they're trying to ang pinafasad nila ay they're just trying to protect us when in fact for the longest time they're the ones who would harass, who would abduct, who would kill not just progressives no but any student who would raise their opinions regarding the government's inefficient response to societal problems no. Hindi yung mga police, yung mga militar, hindi merong mga recent cases ng panghihimasok sa loob ng university pumapasok pa din yan sa mga universities natin, hindi man sila naka-uniforme no or kung merong mga instances pero nandun pa din yung nature nila ng pag-red tag at pag-terror tag sa mga estudyante at sa mga kaguruan ng mga ng universidad. So I find it ironic na ang promise nila ay they're going to protect the university when in fact they can't even protect mismo yung DND, they can't even protect our islands. They can't even protect the people against this virus na nagpi-plague sa atin. So at dagdagan pa siya ng mga issues ng pamamaslang ng pulis sa mga ordinaryong mamamayan. Wala nang tiwala ang UP community sa sa sinasabi ni Delphine Lorenzana na they will be protecting the rights of the students and the faculty of UP.
Okay, how about in your universities?
Sa UP Cebu naman po, same sentiments din no sa UPLB na unang-una sila naman talaga yung naglo-launch no ng mga attacks na ganito sa mga students. Tsaka kaya parang nakakatawa na parang gusto nilang i-protect yung students no amid sa mga attacks na ito kasi personally sa UP Cebu marami na ring cases no ng harassment ng state forces sa mga students namin at syempre sa yung track record ng PNP no na mag launch ng mga red tagging campaigns, ng mga black propaganda ay hindi na questionable no yung mga pagre-red tag sa mga students, especially nung sa amin last year no na ang daming flyers sa labas ng campus namin na nagre-red tag sa mga student leaders din namin sa campus. Kaya kung makikita natin no, sa mga sinabi ng mga kasama ko dito kanina, ang totoong agenda naman talaga nila ay hindi protektahan yung estudyante, kundi para kontrolin no, ang public opinion, kontrolin yung consciousness ng mga tao sa pag-regulate ng kung ano yung mga diskusyon sa loob ng mga campuses kasi dito naman talaga nagsa-start yun yung mga diskusyon sa mga policies, 'di ba? Sa loob naman talaga ng mga campuses yan usually. At dahil sa ngayon sa init ng sitwasyon sa bansa, especially sa mga nabanggit kanina yung sa mga charter change, sa talks on election, maraming mga issue na kinakaharap ngayon ang Pilipinas na kaya nilang i-railroad lang no at anuhin yung mga criticisms ng mga tao especially sa opposition sa panahon ngayon.
And Aura, Rene, and Bruce.
So sa UP Mindanao naman, even with the UP DND Accord, there's already this presence of a military encampment in UP Mindanao long before pa rin. So the 11th RCDG has been this presence of a military detachment has always been long-standing in the university, and this has instilled fear among our student activists, student leaders, especially when there are some cases or instances where these students, for example, when they're holding protest actions, mobilizations, they are being surveilled, or there's this surveillance coming from our state forces and agents, which of course will, yeah, like I said, instill fear among our students and activists. And also, like my colleague said, our university is also we're also no stranger to red tagging, since there's also flyers posted along the within the university premises ng red tagging some students, alumni of UP Mindanao, which is also a propaganda of our state forces in trying to suppress this activism of our youth. Yan lang po.
Not at first. Renee, do you want to add?
Echoing lang din po yung sentiments ng colleagues ko na nakita po natin na malala din po, mas malala po yung red tagging in rural areas kung saan ay mas hindi na-hold accountable yung police. So they're able to commit yung gantong kinds of incursions against the UPD and the Accord without accountability. Ito rin po yung naging experience ng past student regents kung saan nare-red tag sila and hinahanap sila ng police forces outside of their uniform in campus grounds. So, shared po yung sentiment, historical yung sentiment, yung fear, yung wariness against police. And hindi po ito out of education or yung pinag-aralan natin, pero simply because of how they act, how they hold themselves, na sparks fear into the hearts, into the minds of the UP community.
This may second to the last question. Under the Duterte administration, I mean, we reported on this repeatedly that it really is kind of waging a war against dissent and protest, as in intense yung kanilang pagigipit sa mga critics at saka sa protesters. In your experience, how does this fit in all of that? And what do you see will happen in the next few months, in the coming years, right, in the coming weeks? How will this affect the activism that you have as student leaders and the constituents that you lead?
Answering that question po, I think this will only intensify our fight against the Duterte administration and the state forces that really abuse yung rule of law. We've seen this na last year ay nagkaroon ng attempts of Senator Bato de la Rosa to conduct Senate hearings and call for intensified military and police presence in UP community grounds. And ito ay lambasted ng UP community as a whole, and naging united yung lahat ng sectors ng UP community against dito sa gantong action. And this fits into their narrative, into their plan, na really to continue red tagging at igipit yung opposition forces, lalo na yung mga student leaders, vocal and critical of this administration. Hindi lang ito din sa against students and in the UP community, pero nakikita natin yung implementation ng executive orders, nakikita natin yung pag-implement ng anti-terror law as all means to the end na talagang i-quash yung opposition at tanggalin yung boses nila para yung mamunong narrative lang ay yung kanila. And syempre, nakita natin din last year ay naging successful yung campaign natin to defend academic freedom and to defend UP. And napapush back natin yung administration. And this is what we're hoping to do now with our mass action today sa Quezon Hall at 10 a.m. And our subsequent mass actions and yung pag-respond natin, yung pag-push back natin against the state sa gantong kinds of acts and yung patuloy nilang panggigipit sa opposition and even yung sa pamumuhay lang ng Filipino people.
One last question, guys, and you can answer the earlier question that I asked na sinagot ni Rene, but you can incorporate this question. This is my last question to you guys. You guys are the student leaders of UP, and you hold a pretty important position when it comes to leadership in the country. When you talk about UP, it's the university that students really look up to. It's mga skola ng bayan kayo, and you are the student leaders that people are looking at, especially at this time. What is your message to fellow students, not just for UP students, but students all over in the Philippines? What after this happened and under this climate of the Duterte administration?
Okay. Ayun, so I'd just like to go back muna dun sa naunang question regarding protests, no. This is an observation. This is an objective observation. Ever since the community quarantine or the lockdown was imposed, mas nagkaroon ng leverage yung government to disperse ang mga student protests, yung mga protesta ng mga mamamayan sa iba't ibang parte ng bansa. And yung pag-terminate ng UPD&D Accords ay affront siya doon. Ay affront siya sa mga protest dahil like sa nakita natin sa nagdaang mga buwan, mga UP campuses ang nagsilbing rallying points, mga nagsilbing refuge para sa mga politically persecuted, no. So the state is trying na to infiltrate the university para freely mapigilan ang mga kilos protesta, mapigilan ang mga estudyante na mag-organisa. And with this actually, what we're expecting is that with the termination of the UPD&D Accords, ay mas as I've said kanina, sinestrengthen niya lang yung resolve ng mga estudyante at faculty na ituloy-tuloy yung laban, lumabas mula sa mga bahay natin, sumama sa pagkilos sa labas, no, sa streets, kung saan higit na kinakailangan yung pagkilos natin. And I think the government, no, mas kailangan nila maghanda. Sila yung kailangan maghanda kasi handang-handa na din yung UP community, no, na i-defend yung university at every day binibigyan nila kami ng bagong reason para magkumilos at i-oust sila mula sa kanilang mga pwesto. So regarding naman doon sa yung may message naman, no, sa mga kapwa ko estudyante, no. Sa mga kapwa ko estudyante, it's okay na matakot tayo, no. Matakot tayo ngayon, pero ang kinakailangan, no, ay i-channel natin yung takot natin sa paglabas sa ating mga bahay. Magalit tayo, no. More than being scared, ay kinakailangan magalit tayo dahil affront ito sa ating academic freedom, which is the lifeblood of the university. Affront siya sa karapatan natin mag-express. And my message, no, sa mga fellow students, hindi lang UP students, no, hindi lang ito problema ng UP. Syempre, this will set a precedent sa iba pang mga universities to open up their universities to state forces at kung hindi tayo kikilos, no, malayang-malaya nang makakapag-infiltrate ang mga state forces na ito sa mga universities, hindi lamang sa UP. Yun lang po.
Thank you, Jaina. Who wants to go next? Okay,
so,
Ara.
So yung itong termination naman po talaga sa UPD&D, no, ay isa lamang dagdag sa puzzle na attempt, no, ng Duterte administration to establish dictatorship. At hindi lang yan, nagsisilbi din itong pretext, no, sa mas intensified pang mga attacks at implementation ng anti-terrorism law, no, which was very controversial sa mga vague na provisions niya at sa pag-railroad din niya, no, amid the pandemic. So very alarming ito, not only to the UP community but also to the rest, no, of the Filipino people na critical at apektado sa mga policies na ito at syempre sa kapalpakan, no, ng pandemic response. Pero syempre, no, napatunayan naman sa kasaysayan na ang mga attacks na ito, ang mga issues na ito, no, sa mga national issues ay constantly sinasagot, no, ng mga estudyante kasama ang masang Pilipino, no, through militant and collective action sa mga various mobilizations, no, at paglabi natin sa ating mga demands. So sa mga fellow students, no, and youth, amid sa mga attacks na ito sa academic freedom natin, no, ay patuloy pa rin nating i-educate, no, ang ating mga sarili at syempre i-educate yung fellow students din natin at saka yung relatives, friends, no, kung bakit malaking issue talaga ang pag-terminate ng UP-DND Accord. At syempre, hindi naman tayo magsa-stop lang, no, sa pag-educate sa mga sarili natin, kundi syempre tulad ng nasabi ko kanina, no, na through collective action talaga ang pagsagot natin sa ganitong mga issue. So kailangan nating organisahin, no, ang ating mga sarili at i-involve ang mga kakilala natin sa mga mobilizations at sa mga kung ano mang aksyon, no, o appeals na pwede nating gawin para i-counter tong attack na to. Yan po.
Thank you, Aura.
So, ako na. Okay. So, it is, first of all, questionable, like what I said kanina, how they found the timing to terminate the agreement during a global pandemic where any form of activity, much more mobilizations, are limited. This goes to show where the priorities of our authorities lie. And the letter that the DND sent disregarded the long list of human rights violations done by the AFP and PNP. And with the railroad passage of the Anti-Terror Act, it has further intensified the crackdown against legal organizations, activists, and the ordinary Filipino citizen. And allow me to contextualize the situation here in Mindanao. Even after the lifting of martial law way back in 2019, there's still this strong military presence still persists around the island, even in Lumad schools. And it was documented that state-perpetuated violence, which ranges from school-related extrajudicial killings to illegal arrests and to forced closure of these schools. And if I remember correctly, in 2019 alone, 55 Lumad schools were shut down by DepEd in Davao region. And these are schools or institutions without an accord, or they don't have an agreement that protects them from these state forces. Unlike UP, which now is facing this threat. And all these accounts and events are much more reasons why we should continue to uphold the UP-DND Accord. To my fellow ISCOs and ISCAs, the UP-DND Accord is a significant victory won by the blood, sweat, and tears of UP students decades ago. And it is because of their sacrifices our academic freedom was ensured, and we're benefiting it until this very day. In this time where it calls for militancy, let us not cower in fear. There is power in collective action. And to my fellow youth, this move of the DND is one of their many schemes to try to suppress activism and instill fear among us. But never underestimate what the youth can do. Faced with another dictator, we are ready again to defend UP. And we are one in amplifying the calls together with the broader masses, and that will never change.
Thank you, Bruce. Renee, do you want to say something to wrap this up?
We all, bilang isang student leader din, ay naiintindihan ko kung saan nanggagaling yung katakutan ng karamihan ng ating student leaders and yung wider UP community. Pero I just like to remind din yung ating naging paulit-ulit na demonstration of power and how we're able to successfully push back against the state, against their oppressive mechanisms and their tactics. So, lagi lang nating tandaan na may wider movement of the people and may greater UP community tayong sinasandigan. Kahit ito yung mga alumni na and nakalabas na ng university. Sila yung mga kakampi natin at marami po tayo. So, dahil mas marami tayo ay wag tayong mag-hesitate to use our voices against yung tulambas yung actions nila. Wag tayong matakot to act against yung in retaliation, and sumama po tayo sa ating mga mobilizations, and lagi po nating tandaan na hindi tayo nag-iisa at let's be united against the common enemy po.
Thank you so much. That was Rene Ko from UP Diliman, Jaino Bongan from UP Los Baños, Bruce Gamad from UP Mindanao, and Ara Agbay from UP Cebu. This has been Rappler Talk. Thank you for watching. If you're going to follow more on this issue of the ending of the UPD and the Accord, please follow us on Rappler. We will continue to cover this. Thank you.